Oscilloscopes, signal generators, digital multimeters, these are all important for audio repair, but let's not forget about the hand tools. Having a proper set of screwdrivers increases efficiency, reduces the likelihood of accidental damage, and makes you a better tech. These are the screwdrivers that I consider essential for vintage audio repair. Let me tell you why. I find myself reaching for this screwdriver again and again for audio repair. It's a Wiha #1 Phillips precision driver. Precision drivers have a free-floating end cap and a very thin handle, which makes them extremely fast. They can also be operated easily with one hand. One of the main advantages of precision drivers is one-handed operation. So a lot of times you'll need to hold something in position and only have one hand available for screwing something in. So this allows you to get right into the correct location. You can use the pivot and very quickly install a screw with just one hand. Having one of these magnetizer-demagnetizer blocks is extremely useful. If you're going to be installing screws with one hand in a tight space, this is a lifesaver. These are also very nimble, allowing you to get into tight places where a conventional screwdriver might get bound up on its handle. I work on a lot of early American gear, so that means a lot of flathead screws, so I use a flat blade precision driver as well. The 3.5mm flat blade seems to be the perfect size for audio work. It fits well within the head of a standard 440 screw, but it's also big enough to effectively remove and reinstall the 632 flathead screws that are so often found in the barrier strips on vintage Macintosh, Marantz, and a lot of other 1960s American equipment. Wiha makes a wide variety of precision screwdrivers. I've ordered some of their larger kits in the past, but I always find myself defaulting back to these two, the #1 Phillips and the 3.5mm flat. Those are the ones that permanently stay at the bench. I use these magnetic knife blocks for storing my screwdrivers at the bench. It's nice and convenient, but the problem is I can't see the tips. So whenever possible, I try to order my different types of drivers in different colors so they're easy to identify. So I keep my Phillips in the standard black and red, and then I try to get the flathead in ESD or a different color just so it's easy for me to grab. If you're interested in purchasing any of the tools featured in this video, head down to the description. I'll have some affiliate links available there. The disadvantage of precision drivers is a lack of torque. If you've got a stubborn screw that won't budge, or a screw that you need to make sure is really tight so it doesn't back out, you're going to need something with a bigger handle. Most people are going to have a decent collection of conventional screwdrivers, so I'm just going to go over a handful of specialty ones that I use. Having a nice beefy flathead around is a good idea for screws that just need a lot of torque. So the most common example in audio work is working with screw terminal main filter capacitors. It's really important that these connections be solid, so usually you'll have a lock washer that's going to bite into a material that's a little bit softer, and it really establishes a great long-term connection. So having a nice flathead with a big handle that you can really torque on is really important for this type of connection. Another specialty screwdriver that I find myself reaching for quite frequently is this standard Phillips with a really long shaft. This really helps when removing clips on these large main filter capacitors because I can get deep down into the chassis without the handle hitting anything around it. If you're into nice things, you might want to consider investing in some JIS screwdrivers. This is a P2x100 from Vessel. I use this screwdriver all the time. JIS stands for Japanese Industrial Standard. The screws and screwdriver tips have a slightly different geometry. You can usually tell a JIS screw by the little dimple next to the cross on the screw head. When you insert a JIS bit into a JIS screw head, it fits like a glove, and it's a truly luxurious experience to remove a screw with a JIS driver that's meant to receive it. The P2 seems to work for just about everything, but once in a while I'll run into a really small screw head that's extremely tight, and if I want to just be absolutely sure that I don't strip it, I pull out a P1. Now what if there was a screwdriver type that combined the speed and control of a precision driver with the torque available with a full-sized handle? That's where ratcheting drivers come into play. Ratcheting screwdrivers are set up similar to a precision driver, where this section is floating, which allows the shaft to spin freely. A lot of people perceive ratcheting screwdrivers as being extremely fast. And although that's true, you can be just as fast with a conventional screwdriver, it's just a different technique. So if you're spinning the shaft, you need to be constantly rotating your other hand on the handle. That's kind of the difference. With the ratcheting screwdriver, you can keep one hand stationary on the handle, and all you have to do is rotate the wrist. So your fingers never leave the handle. And that's where it gets really fast with the added control. So that's why I really like this type of screwdriver. It offers single-handed operation, precision, speed, and torque. Just like with the precision driver, if you need to hold something with one hand, the ratcheting driver makes this really easy. So right now I'm just coming down, and as soon as there's enough resistance, you can ratchet it. You don't need to remove your hand and put it back on the handle. So it's just a really universal tool that comes in handy so often that I find myself reaching for the ratcheting driver probably 90% of the time when I need a screwdriver. The ratcheting drivers that I use have removable bits, and the quality of the bits is excellent. They have these little teeth in them that really make them good at gripping screws. So this thing's got a nice bit set right out of the box. And another thing that you can do is throw in a JIS tip. So if you want that luxury screw removal experience, but you don't want to buy a dedicated screwdriver, you can just get a JIS tip and go that way. If you've ever worked on vintage Macintosh, you know how prominent these 1/4-inch head screws are. With this ratcheting driver, you can just remove the bit and you end up with a 1/4-inch socket here, and works great for very quickly removing these Macintosh screws. The first ratcheting screwdriver that I added to my collection was this Snap-on model. This is actually the third one that I've had. I like this screwdriver so much, I equipped a second bench with it. And the first one that I got, after 12 years of almost continuous daily use, the ratchet finally started to wear out. It still works, it's just a little bit crunchy, but Snap-on replaced that screwdriver with this one for free. So that's the benefit of going with Snap-on. You pay a lot more up front, but the warranty is just exceptional. This screwdriver is from a company called Williams. I believe it's actually the same manufacturer that Snap-on uses for their US models. They have the same looking ratcheting mechanism, the same handle, the ratchet feels pretty much identical, maybe a little bit smoother on the Snap-on one. The shaft lengths are slightly different. The Snap-on one's just a little bit longer, and it also has a knurled section here. So overall, if I had to choose, I would definitely go with the Snap-on one personally. But if you want to save a lot of money, this is a great screwdriver at a much more affordable price. For quickly removing top and bottom cover screws, I personally prefer my ratcheting drivers, but at the time of shooting this video, I'm 36 years old, I don't have chronic wrist or hand pain, and that's not true for everybody, and that's where electric screwdrivers really help. Once in a while, I do use my electric screwdriver for audio repair, but it's really only in extreme cases like a piece of SAE equipment or something that has an excessive amount of cover screws. And I'll use it to remove screws, but I usually don't use it to put screws back in. That's because I like to have that tactile feel, getting feedback from the screw itself, so I can be sure I'm not cross-threading or stripping anything. I'm not going to talk about the one that I use in the shop here very much because it's discontinued, but I asked a bunch of tech friends of mine, and these are the two that came up the most: the 8-volt DeWalt and the 12-volt Milwaukee. Now, what all three of these have in common is they all have a clutch. That's the most important part. When you're looking for a power driver, you need something that has the ability to stop the bit if a certain torque is exceeded. So in this case, I have the clutch set to 1. If I engage the tool, it's going to spin freely, but if I hold the bit, it's going to start clicking. What that does is it prevents you from accidentally stripping a screw head or stripping the threads. The last two types of drivers that I'm going to talk about are a little less common. Let's start with hex drivers. I find myself using this style of hex driver all the time when I'm working with knobs. Now, if you're trying to reinstall a set screw and it's got a lot of rotation left and you're using a standard Allen wrench or hex key, depending on the rotation of the control, you can get into situations where it's really easy to scratch the faceplate. Now, this is a bad example because I could just rotate it up and now it's out of the way. But on something like a volume control where you're trying to get it to sit at a very specific point when it's adjusted to 0 or clicks into a detent at center, sometimes you can't avoid that angle. So this is where the hex driver comes in. A lot of times, even at an angle that would normally scratch the faceplate, you can insert this driver and get all of those turns out of the way, and you've got plenty of torque here to get it tightened back on. So I use these all the time when I'm reinstalling knobs with set screws. The most common set screw sizes for knobs on Japanese equipment are 1.5 and 2 millimeter. On 1960s American stuff, it almost always seems to be 5/64ths. And that's kind of a hard size to get in this specific style. I'll leave some links in the description for a kit similar to this, one that includes some SAE drivers and then a single 5/64ths. The final must-have screwdriver type on my list is ceramic drivers. The ceramic tip and plastic body mean that these are completely insulated, so you can stick them into tricky places to do DC offset and bias adjustments without the risk of slipping and shorting out components. I find the 2.6 millimeter to be the most versatile. This is the most standard slotted trimmer that we see when doing replacements. Fits great in there. Fits really nice in the multi-turn trimmers. It'll even do the crosshead ones. Where you're going to run into trouble is something like this Pfeiffer, where it's just a little bit too small. I think I can technically still get in there, but it's a little bit tight, especially if you're coming from the back side. Yeah, it won't work from this side. So in that case, you might need to step down to something a little bit smaller. This is a set I picked up ages ago. It's no longer available, but the other sizes in here that are valuable are the 1.8 millimeter and the crosshead. So I'll leave a link to an affordable kit that has those three sizes in it, as well as the individual vessel part numbers. But in this case, this one's just a little bit smaller, so we can easily get into this Pfeiffer control from both sides. And then this type of driver works well for a trimmer with a crosshead because it's not shaped like a normal Phillips. It doesn't have a point to it. It's a lot flatter, but that gets in there nicely. If any of these screwdriver types are missing from your bench, just a quick reminder, you can head down to the description for some product links. Now, screwdrivers are really just the beginning, so I hope you'll join me for the next topic.